Brandon brought up something on Tuesday that now we have a Tennessee fan in the building that I would like to revisit, Jack, if you would be so kind to allow me to do so. Because after a few days of digesting the take that Brandon had and looking at all of the responses, so Big T, I'm sure you saw this. One of the things that Brandon took a huge issue with was that some Tennessee fan who works for 24/7, because he is a Tennessee fan. Yes, he's a Tennessee fan. It's okay. Said college football is better when Tennessee is good. And there was a lot more things that were said in it. And I do agree with Brandon in the fact of, like, this guy acted like if Tennessee is not good, the sport isn't as good. Before I get to my take, I want to see where you stand on this, which I have a feeling that you probably agree with him because you're a Tennessee fan. But let's say you take the Tennessee out of it. Insert team, insert writer makes the sport good. How do you feel?
So, two things. First of all, similarly to the fundraising thing, like, this is all Brandon has to cling to now that we're number 3 in the country. And he just, it was going to be Florida, then it was going to be LSU, it was going to be Alabama. So now that we just keep beating these teams, he has to find new arguments to hate Tennessee. That's the first thing. But secondly, I don't think either person is necessarily wrong. I think, like, on the whole, like, Tennessee is a huge college football brand that, like, the sport probably is better when Tennessee is up there and good. But, like, Brandon took a separate point. He's like, college football has been amazing. Like, yeah, nobody disputes that. Like, you could have something be 99% as good as it possibly could be, which would be amazing. And then if one thing happens that makes it 1% better, that's also true. So I also don't care.
Also,
I only care if Tennessee wins. I don't care if people think college football is better. I don't care.
Also, did you see he said only one school college football would miss if they disappeared?
Who? Well, let me guess what he said.
And I could not disagree with that take more, so we'll get to that. But
I bet he said Notre Dame.
Yeah, and I really don't like it.
I don't. Yeah, I mean,
What?
I think I don't. I don't even think I would notice because obviously, like, we watch everything, and Notre Dame's a big school without a doubt, big brand, one of the biggest brands in college football. But I think if we lost Notre Dame, I would just be like, okay. I think that's really what I would be like.
I've watched one Notre Dame game this season. Yeah. It was against Ohio State. They're terrible. Like, does anyone care?
I completely agree, and I would take it even further.
A lot of fake fans too. Like they're not watching. You watched every Tennessee game.
I would watch every Tennessee game that they play if they went 12-0 or 0-12. Forever.
Notre Dame fans, they're not watching now after the losses to Marshall.
Oh, be careful, Jack. They'll come
Stanford. For you. There's people that are real fans, but I'm saying there's a lot as a whole. They have a lot of fake fans. Notre Dame, I would say, is the biggest Walmart school out there, even though you don't buy it at Walmart. It's because especially in the Northeast where I'm from.
Well, they have a whole religion.
I know, which is like insane.
How do they have the whole marketplace for Catholicism?
Because
I know they're the biggest one, but it's like there are other.
Well, Roman Catholic they have.
But it's just like I get that, and I know Notre Dame is
they
Roman
also
Catholic,
have Irish. They also have an entire ethnicity.
I mean, what's another
just touchdown Jesus?
What's another Catholic school that's like really good at football?
It's by far the biggest, and it's by far the biggest brand.
Mormons, but that's
however,
that's not Catholic though.
To me, it's like laughable when it's like, well, all the Catholics love Notre Dame. It's like, well, no, that's true. Not true. The Notre Dame is the Catholic school, but you can be Catholic and you can be Irish and not like.
They also have a mass.
I don't know that. I think you might be wrong. I don't think that's correct.
What?
She said you can be Irish and Catholic and not like Notre Dame. I actually think that's incorrect.
I'm the only one I'm Irish and Roman Catholic, but I don't like Notre Dame.
Jack's the only fan.
They benefit from the Northeast not having a real college football team. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's Boston College, who kind of has fallen off. And then obviously like the likes of UConn and others. But they have the Northeast where a lot of Roman Catholics are, a lot of Irish are, that don't have a team. And it's like, oh, who's the team on NBC? And then it's like, oh, it's Notre Dame. It's the Irish. Rudy was massive for them too.
Rudy is
one
huge.
of probably the most influential movie ever to create fans for a school.
Hoosiers probably too. Yeah. I know different.
No, but Hoosiers isn't about a college. It's about high school.
Yeah, I guess, but it is.
I don't think about Hoosiers when it comes.
Just Indiana basketball in general, but you're right. Yeah, as far as a college goes.
I don't know any Indiana basketball fans. They're irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I don't know that I know any.
I know Kentucky fans. I know
Vibs.
Duke fans.
I think Vibs is
Yeah,
it.
that's
Vibs
true.
is
He's
it.
from Indiana, but like,
Yeah.
there's no
it took me that long to
like
think of
Duke
one.
fans. You'll have Duke fans from like California. Marty,
Mm-hmm.
he did go there, but
So with the whole idea of college football is better when X team is better, I don't think there is a single team that is bigger than the sport that if that team didn't exist, anyone would notice unless it's where you went to school or the team that you root for. I really don't.
I think there are a couple, but it's not like a massive drop off.
Well, Texas.
If you lost the Texas fan base,
I don't
like,
think Texas is one of them.
I think that Texas as a brand is huge because it's the Longhorns. Obviously, they were big enough to get the Longhorn Network. If Texas didn't exist in college football, if USC didn't exist, if Alabama didn't exist, it's not like the sport would come crumbling down.
I also think it changes. Like, I think in Brandon's mind, with him saying Notre Dame, it's fixed forever. Like, Notre Dame
Absolutely
is the
not.
premier brand in college football. Like, right now, it's Alabama. Like, if Alabama disappeared off the face of the earth, college football would be different. We would all continue watching it. Like, I don't think it would matter that much to us, but, like, that would be a huge thing. In a few years, like, Georgia's really good. It might be them. Like, I think it changes with time, but also I think the number of those is incredibly small, and it's not a seismic impact.
I don't think there is a single team that's bigger than the sport. If, like, let's say all of us were sitting here and North Carolina didn't exist anymore, that would impact you. It would not impact me. A&M, UConn, Tennessee, whoever it may be. However, the side that I do not agree with Brandon on is that whether it's Tennessee, whether it's USC being good again, whether it's Florida State, Miami, Georgia, whoever, whatever conference, when there is a team that has had success in the past and hasn't for a while become good again, that is good for the sport. And
Yeah.
Tennessee is that team right now, because when you look at, and I know you can't take social media completely as gospel when it comes to this, but when you look at the excitement around the conversations about Tennessee right now, or before USC lost, or you go down the list, it creates debate that's not there when those teams aren't good. When it's just Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson every single year, the people who root for those teams are the loudest.
but Clemson
Everyone else
didn't
is just.
exist.
But I'm saying in the recent past, when you look at like the college football playoff and you look at every single year, we did it again this year. You look and you say, okay, well, we know Ohio State's going to be there. We know Alabama's going to be there. A lot of people said Clemson was going to be there.
But we don't know if Alabama's.
But going into it, right, that's what I'm saying. But people had, I mean, we all had Alabama in our Final Four. We all had
we were
Alabama.
wrong. Yeah.
But I'm saying from a standpoint of a fan base of college football looking at it, and I continue to say this, casual fans of the sport want to see parity. Tennessee beating Alabama creates that parity.
I just like
Highest ranked game this year.
I
Or,
just think
rated.
it's like we're cheering for fans, casual fans that don't really like the sport. Like,
No,
who cares?
I'm not a casual fan, and I would like to see a different top four every single year. I would like my team to be there, but I do like the idea that Tennessee, or again, insert any team. It's not just Tennessee. Insert any team that has a fun brand of football that I enjoy watching. I like to see those upsets. That's why we root for upsets every single week, because we want to see these teams fall unless it's your team.
But then you also apparently are cheering for like teams to rebound from like them not being good. But then do you want them to not be good? So like if you are saying Tennessee, oh, it's great that they're back, then we could have said the same thing about Clemson in 2014.
Yeah, and I thought it was great that
but now
when-
it's bad that they're good.
whenever Clemsoning died, it was good for, it was like,
But now it's bad for the sport.
I'm not saying anything's bad for the sport. I think that it is more fun as a college football fan that every single year we go into the college football playoff rankings, we go into the end of the season, we say it looks a little bit different. I do think that. Now, am I going to watch it if it's every single year, Alabama and Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, go down the list? Absolutely. I'm going to love college football no matter what. However, I do think that it is more fun when teams that aren't usually there in the recent past take that next step and say, okay, maybe this Nick Saban every single year going to the college football playoff narrative isn't always true.
I think people think they like parody, but they don't. Look at what we obsess over. We obsess over, like, as a culture. We obsess over Tiger Woods. We obsess over Michael Jordan and those Bulls teams that were so amazing.
Right.
They won. That's all they did. We are going to obsess about the Warriors teams in 10 to 15 years thinking about how great they were. In the NFL, we obsess over Tom Brady. NFL fans say, like, oh, there's no parity. Well, guess what? Like, NFL fans right now, and I'm included in that, just were so excited for the biggest game of the season last weekend, which was the Bills against the Chiefs. And that's probably going to be the AFC Championship game. And guess what? People are still going to be so hyped about that. Where's the parity there? That was what it was last year.
People don't get near as
Not
excited.
5 years ago.
Yeah, people don't get near as excited, though, for the, like, I mean.
But 5 years ago, we didn't have Clemson, Alabama.
I know, but it's like, I disagree.
We did, but it was like we didn't have what?
No, I'm waiting for you to finish. No.
We didn't have Georgia.
I think parity is good. I don't think we're not in football. You can't do a whole paintbrush across all sports.
I also think people love parity until it's like nut cutting time, and then like if the playoff is UCLA against TCU,
Yeah.
people like don't want that.
That's what I'm
anymore.
saying.
Yeah.
It's like, and then it's like,
But if they run the table and they beat good teams, what if Alabama has 3 losses? People would rather see a 3-loss Alabama in there.
No,
than a
not
team
necessarily,
that
but
ran
like
the
an
bell.
Alabama-Georgia game is doing better ratings than TCU-UCLA
Ratings-
11
ratings
times
is
out of
different
10.
than-
I agree
parity.
with that. Ratings as a whole.
But that's saying what people want to watch.
yeah.
But okay, so for example, as somebody who loves college football, it's really the only thing that I care about, my favorite team that has won was the 2019 LSU Tigers because it was so different, because we didn't expect it.
But they were in the national championship in 2020.
I'm talking about the college football playoff era. I'm talking about now that we know that it's not a computer.
But let's
now
not-
that we know that there is a way for the eye test to matter, because computers were always going to favor the teams that were ranked high at the beginning of the season. We know that. Not to say the college football playoff doesn't. However, and I know that it's, LSU is LSU and they're fun no matter what, unless you absolutely hate them. However, that playoff was so much more interesting to me because LSU was not supposed to be there at the beginning of the season. Joe Burrow was not supposed to win the Heisman that year, and it was different than what we had seen in the last few years before that.
That playoff stunk because it was blowouts. I guess that
Every playoff has been blowouts.
Yeah, but I also let's not act like LSU's like this small and
Oh no,
tidy.
I don't think that.
Yeah.
But it was different. We hadn't seen that in the college football playoff era.
We hadn't seen it, but then like
when
we
Michigan
hadn't.
State was in it, like that. I mean, that was so
Did you
long
like
ago.
that?
I liked. Well, that was still so new. I mean, that was like the college football playoff was still so new when they were in it.
Anything outside of Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, at least in my opinion, is parity. So LSU is included in that. Yes, they're still a big horse. Yes, Georgia's still big, but it's still not those 3.
They've won 2
here.
national championships in the 2000s, though.
But we're
Defending my opinion.
Yeah,
I
but
think
But that's
it's
not
parity.
parity, though.
Why did
That's what I
everybody-
consider it is right now.
Why did
Well,
everybody
there's
make such a
definition
big
of
deal
parity.
of Michigan being in the college football playoff? Everyone made a big deal about Michigan being there last year because it was an Ohio State.
Well, because that was a massive brand that won a national championship in 1997.
So that's my point with Tennessee. My point is that they have
But
not
then
been
once
good.
they come back, my point is once Clemson comes back, now they're all of a sudden bad. Alabama,
No one's used the word bad.
or for parity, I meant for bad for parity. Alabama, if we started this podcast in 2005, in Alabama, they would have been, oh, that's great, they're back.
Completely agree.
And but once a team gets back, then the parity becomes an issue.
We celebrate. I'm talking about in general. When you look at this, I completely agree that those teams, if they deserve to be there, they deserve to be there. If UCLA was in it, like you mentioned, I'm still watching. I'm going to watch every single. I watched OU every single year in the playoff, knowing they're going to get their shit kicked in.
Well, we're the wrong people to talk to, though, because we'll watch it no matter what.
But that's what I'm saying. That's my point, my argument. We can move on from this, but my argument against what Brandon was saying, because I agree that one single team does not change college football as a whole. So again, insert brand. And at Notre Dame, him putting that as the caveat, I completely disagree. But when there are different teams at the top of those conversations, I do think that makes the sport more fun. I do think that it's better for the sport.
I don't disagree with you. I just think that a playoff this year of UCLA, TCU, Oklahoma State, and I don't know, pick a fourth one, Clemson, is less appealing to the average college football fan than one of Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson.
And dynasties get the best ratings.
But then
they've
when
always
dynasties
gotten that.
fall, people also, because you talk about like the Bulls, you talk about Tiger Woods, there's still that next thing. It's everyone's chasing that. So there's also something like that, which is why I said with Nick Saban. Like if Nick Saban, I disagreed with Brandon when he said if Nick Saban goes away, there's just going to be somebody else there. No, it's going to be a long time, I think, before somebody says, oh, this is somebody as good. So Alabama having the dynasty, and we're not talking about 1 or 2 championships. We're talking about a lot of championships. I think that it is more fun if there is a conversation around a Tennessee or a conversation around a USC, because as of recent past, we have not gotten to see that. And I think that does make college football more fun.
You think Georgia made it more fun?
Yes.
Okay.
I think Georgia winning last year, absolutely. If Alabama would have won, congratulations to Alabama. It's like, okay, they won again. Georgia being the national champion last year did make it more fun from a casual standpoint, because it was like, oh, it's not the same thing every single year.
I know you need to get to an ad or whatever, but that brought me to one more question we were talking about. Just I forget what you mentioned that made me think of this. What'd y'all think of the Georgia fans and like LSU and Florida fans in the swamp, like when they announced that Tennessee had won, like cheering like they just won a game? Like the Georgia bookstore went nuts.
I hate like this is to be happy forever.
Huh?
To hate like this is to be happy forever. When you're at the top, everyone's going to hate you. Like,
Yeah, but like they were celebrating a division rival who's also
yeah.
number 3 in the country.
still have to
Like,
play them.
Yeah.
And that just made your schedule even harder because it's like, oh, this team just beat Alabama.
Yeah.
I think that's how much people hate Nick Saban in Alabama, which I wouldn't have
Apparently
done it.
so.
I wouldn't have done it. I don't think that it's a great look. However, it just shows the power of the hate machine against Alabama.
And that's-
Georgia even makes a little bit more sense than Florida, I guess. Like Florida, you've already
Florida's
lost to
crazy.
Tennessee this year. Like that was very odd to me.
What's the what's better, hate or parity? Because you don't have, if you have all this parity that we're talking about, it different all the time, then there's no hate. It's just like, oh, there's Alabama, there's TCU.
That's a common Jack McW. That's a
yeah,
great
like
point.
you know what I'm saying? Like you like.
I mean, if
Also, if there's no
Mich-
parity, there's no legends. Like there's no Nick Saban.
I'm not saying I want dynasties to go away. I'm not saying that I want every single year to be 4 random teams. I'm saying that because I think dynasties, especially if you're a fan of them, are awesome. I think dynasties are important for all sports, not just college football. However, when those dynasties do start to fall or when they start to get replaced by other teams, it is a fun thing to watch, unless it's the team you root for. So it's just like if the Warriors start losing, like in the NBA, people are gonna be like, okay, yeah, the Warriors had their dynasty, but now it's somebody else's turn. I think that makes it more fun. Other than if, like, when the Celtics won a gazillion in a row back in the day, we celebrate that now in the moment. Unless you were a Boston Celtics fan, you weren't enjoying that.
I think we're all actually very close on this. Like we don't want one team to win forever, but you also don't want randos in the college football playoff every
You know
year.
what? I think we can all agree on.
but if they make it there, how
college
can they be
football
randos?
is awesome, regardless. And no matter who the team is, we're gonna watch it. I just lean on the side of I like.
I just don't
winning.
want to change the sport for people that don't like the sport.